if Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's fucking for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
Jake Paul, I mean, as long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter, a real fighter that can really fight, it's not gonna be that good.
He told me before his goal is to fight Canelo, so that's where his mindset's at.
He'd get up by Canelo. He'd get demolished.
Joe Rogan and Floyd Mayweather have not officially broken down Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. But the entire combat sports world is already imagining exactly what they would say. And honestly, you can picture the chaos because this matchup is one of the most shocking and unpredictable fights boxing has ever witnessed. If Joe Rogan were sitting in the studio right now, he would probably say what millions of fans are already thinking. He would call the matchup completely insane. He would say Jake Paul is stepping into true heavyweight territory and challenging a man who has knocked out massive opponents.
Yeah, I think WWE is good for Logan and
Jake Paul, maybe?
Easy.
Too easy. It's too easy.
Too easy. At 48, too easy.
But it sounds like AJ's going to fight Jake Paul. I mean, if he's true to his word, if he really wants the fight, I mean, it's all very well saying, what did he say? I'll knock it, he's got a weak chin.
Jake Paul just spoke to Oscar there and said, Anthony Joshua has a weak chin, I will knock him out.
Well, look, if he's true to his word, the fight will happen.
Next.
But whenever I know, but I can't believe, and it's great that Tyson Fury is saying that Jake Paul's going to win, and people, I mean, like, maybe I've just lost my mind. But if they truly want that fight, I reached out to Nikisa earlier, we're going to have a chat next week. If they truly want the fight, we can make actually the fight that does the biggest numbers in the sport. Forget Canelo Crawford. That doesn't even touch the surface of, and I can't believe I'm saying it, of AJ against Jake Paul.
But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. That automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on, like you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So it's just ludicrous. It really is.
Joe would break down the speed gap, the size gap, the power gap, and he would still repeat the same truth that always fuels these conversations. Anything can happen in a fight. That is what makes this entire situation so wild. And if Floyd Mayweather spoke on this publicly, he would say something even more interesting. Floyd has always said Jake Paul deserves respect because he promotes himself, he takes risks, and he understands how to build a fight.
Do you regret the Joshua fight not happening?
No, I don't. I don't regret anything. Life's too short for regrets.
What do you think of Jake Paul calling him out?
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a real 50-50 fight.
I've got a problem with this one because Anthony Joshua is a two-time world champion. Jake Paul's a YouTuber and doesn't deserve the right to be in a ring with Anthony.
Well, don't buy the fight then.
It's dangerous. We saw what Anthony Joshua had done to Francis Ngannou. This is a fight.
I know, but what I'm saying
People are going in there, their health is at risk.
But the only reason they
put someone in there in a ring.
I know, Jay.
And you say the only reason we're doing it is for money. That don't sit right with me.
Fine, then don't buy it.
Is Jake Paul at risk, and isn't everything about money, and who cares?
Of course he is, but that's what bothers me, right? If Anthony Joshua was to do what he done to Ngannou to Jake Paul, that's like life-changing injuries, potentially fatal. There's got to be some sort of contract being signed here, like, look, pull your punches a little bit, mate. If it was real, it'd be dangerous. But the annoying thing is people are going to go on about this as if it is real. And for
all is, he doesn't have to get in the ring with Anthony Joshua for $50 million. He's got $50 million. So for him to do this, get on the biggest stage in the world, which is Netflix, and fight a 2 times heavyweight world champion, you've got to have a big, giant set of balls, right? Now you might think, well, look, Anthony Joshua's 36 years old. He's past it. No, mate. Alexander Usyk, who's the world heavyweight champion, probably the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world at heavyweight, is 38 years old. If you look at history over time, a lot of heavyweights seem to prime as they get older. Now, a problem for Anthony Joshua is his activity. He's only fought twice in 2 years, and one of them he got knocked out off Daniel Dubois. That was his last fight, and a lot of people say you can only judge a fighter's quality from their last fight. And then the fight before that was a win, but it was a win against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if you know, he was the UFC heavyweight who's not a real boxer, and he only had one fight before that boxing fight, what he lost as well. So that's his activity in boxing. Now, Jake Paul, on the other hand, looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023, and one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime, because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. They'll come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's at 43.
But Floyd may not see Jake Paul as a great boxer, but he sees him as a great student of the game, someone who trains hard, someone who is genuinely trying to learn, someone who is willing to step in with dangers that most fighters would never sign up for. And taking on Anthony Joshua is proof of that. The entire boxing world is split. Half of the community is laughing, saying Jake Paul is walking into a nightmare. The other half is saying Jake Paul has balls of steel for even signing this contract. It is the biggest risk of his career. It is a fight that could literally change his life forever. Because if Jake Paul even survives more than a few rounds with Anthony Joshua, he earns a level of respect that no social media celebrity has ever earned in combat sports history.
And number-wise, the biggest fight in boxing history. Ever. Viewed. The biggest viewed fight in boxing history ever. And there's been some great fights over time. That is insane, isn't it? And the highest paid fighters as well. What Jake Paul, they're an estimated £170 million split between these two. But Jake Paul, is he really that deluded that he thinks that he's going to go in there and beat Anthony Joshua?
Do you think he thinks he can do it, Simon?
I don't know what
he's not short in confidence.
I don't know what he thinks, but what he does do is he markets himself in the space that he operates in. I don't get this Jake Paul or Logan Paul phenomenon, but I'm not the audience. It doesn't matter what I get. The opportunity for Netflix is that it's a drive to subscribe. They'll pay $100 million, and the wraparound fees that come from sponsorship and the event attendance. We saw that $20 million was generated in gate receipts for the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. So we know this is $160 million fight. We know that it makes sense to Netflix to do it because in the last fight that they had with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, they developed 2 million new subscribers. The average lifetime value of a subscriber is $900. So if you look at that and say they're going to generate $2 billion in potential increased revenues as a result of paying these fighters $100 million, you can see the metrics of it. They're also retaining their base. They're also moving content into a different space, which is sport. So it all makes sense. It's like the mobile phone industry that I knew very well used to sell phones for nothing so people could get the airtime. And the airtime was where the money is. The content delivery is where the subscribers go to, and then they pay the subscription. So we all understand the model. As far as the fight is concerned, oh no, don't be silly. I mean, Anthony Joshua can go in his nightgown and beat Jake Paul. The issue is, does he hurt Jake Paul? How curated it is. I debated it with boxers, with Paul Smith and Duke McKenzie and Spencer, about would Joshua go in there with a mindset, which is he knows he doesn't have to get out of second gear, so he doesn't have to do to Jake Paul what people fear he might do, which is knock him into the next life.
Jake Paul. The cojones this motherfucker has, from a Disney kid to YouTube to he can fight anyone, get views, and make fucking money. This crazy wild boy sends out the bat signal, the British bat signal for Anthony motherfucking Joshua. You know how crazy that is? I will say this. I don't think any of Jake Paul's fights are fixed in any capacity at all. Not even close. I don't get down that narrative. Again, I know online that's a fun narrative, all that shit. I will say this though. My spidey senses will go off if Anthony Joshua doesn't absolutely mop the floor with him. Now, kudos to Jake for taking this fight. My God, dude, you are a brave young man. You deserve every cent for that fight. My word, dude, there's so much respect. So much respect. He worked so hard at the craft. That's amazing. Kudos to you. Here's the reality. Anthony Joshua is a gold medalist in the Olympics. He's a multiple-time world champion. He's fought the best of the best. He's not really over the hill either. If Jake Paul was just another boxer with his resume and his experience, he's about a mid-blue belt. If we're giving you belts like jiu-jitsu, he's probably a blue belt, fighting in main events and all this stuff. If this fight isn't an absolute domination by Anthony Joshua, my spidey senses will go off. Now, that's not to say that I'm not saying Jake Paul has any language in the contract. There's no foul play whatsoever on Jake Paul's part. My skeptical hippo eyes or my spidey senses will come off that Anthony Joshua's not taking this real and he's not putting his best performance forward.
Crazy part is the strategy behind this matchup. If Jake Paul somehow drags Joshua into deep waters, the pressure begins to shift. Jake is younger, lighter, faster, and far more unpredictable. He throws weird shots. He uses strange angles. He does not fight like a traditional heavyweight. Joshua is the better boxer in every category, but Jake is banking on chaos. He is banking on movement, on cardio, on timing, and on that right hand that he believes can dent anyone if it lands clean. Analysts are saying this might be the biggest gamble any modern fighter has taken. Jake Paul went from facing a much smaller opponent to fighting a full-size heavyweight champion. That kind of jump is unheard of, but this is exactly why the world cannot look away. Jake Paul is not playing the game safely. He is swinging for the absolute top because he wants to prove he belongs in the same conversation as real fighters. This fight is one of the rare moments where boxing feels unpredictable again. Maybe Anthony Joshua destroys him. Maybe Jake Paul survives and shocks everyone. Maybe he lands something nobody sees coming. Nobody knows. And that is why people like Joe Rogan, Floyd Mayweather, and every major analyst in the sport are watching this with genuine curiosity. Because no matter how you feel about Jake Paul, this is the biggest, boldest, and most dangerous fight of his life. And whether he wins or loses, the world will be talking about this matchup for years.